What up guys, today we're going to be talking about how strong is the Beyonder from Marvel. Now this is a character that I mentioned I was going to do a video on when I was doing the whole Galactus series that I was doing, and he had a part to play a little bit in Galactus' story with the whole Secret Wars event, the first one, but beyond that there wasn't really much connections between those two. And I said in that video that I want to continue by doing the Beyonder video and also the Molecule Man video on how strong he is, because those two characters are pretty much interlinked when it comes to, you know, their mythos and their connections, and also coming across one another, though they have completely separate stories too in that. So I will get on Molecule Man himself at some point in the future, but before I get into that, I want to give a big shout out to a new subscribers of mine, one by the name of Vegeta Super Saiyan and another one by the name of Mr. Lim. So big thank you to you two for subscribing to this channel. Now, like I said, in this video I'm going to go through all the feats from the Beyonder and explain more of the, you know, Marvel cosmology itself and what I've learned from, you know, the Marvel cosmology and mythos, because I do know quite a bit about comics, but not a ton, just a decent amount. So yeah, let's get into it. Also, I will say this, there's going to be some of the feats that I'm going to be mentioning. I mentioned it in the Galactus video because of, like I said, the first Secret War event, and I covered a bit, I think, of the second Secret Wars event, but a few of it is going to be from the first one, and then from the Galactus videos, and then the rest of it is just going to be all new stuff. So we start off with the first feat where he basically wipes out an entire galaxy. They even mentioned that he destroyed an entire galaxy, which is pretty impressive. After he destroyed the galaxy, he basically forms a planet from all the, you know, pieces or remnant pieces of these other planets that he destroyed from the galaxy, and left one star. It even states a planet is being formed near that star, the only star remaining from that entire galaxy. So not only did he obliterate a galaxy instantly, he was able to also form a planet from all the destroyed pieces of those planets from that galaxy and save one star for it to create this planet, to have the whole you know, battle between the heroes versus the villains. And as this happens afterwards, there's a shining light in the space, and they say it's as if a rift were opening in the void of space itself. And he basically talks about how he will grant them any wish if they accomplish the mission. So this is impressive because we see the breaching between his dimension and our universe, and the light being like able to tear a rift pretty easily. And then also on top of that, him basically guaranteeing that he would reward the people, whoever wins, a prize. And he said anything you imagine. So it showcases that he has the ability to warp reality to such a high extent. And as this happens, Galactus sees this as a perfect opportunity for himself. So he goes after Beyonder. He says, you Beyonder, hear me, hear Galactus. I sense that you are truly from beyond this universe. This universe, the multiverse. I sense the energies you wield, and I know that you can take from Galactus, a devourer of worlds, his hunger. So Galactus realizes, since he can sense his, you know, cosmic energy and awareness, he's like, yes, you are as powerful as you state, and I do believe you can do that. He says you're a being that comes from you know, beyond this universe and even this multiverse. So the Beyonder's dimension is not only outside of the Marvel universe, but the Marvel multiverse, which is even more impressive than just being outside that, meaning that it's an extra-dimensional world, which usually extra-dimensional beings are really highly powered. And since Galactus also believes that he can even save him or fix him of his hunger, is pretty impressive. So what happened after that, when Galactus, you know, tried to go after him, he tried to go into his dimension, but it just didn't work. He got flung back, he got smashed, and it didn't work well. So he realized that if he wanted to breach into his domain and, you know, get what he wanted, he needed to power himself up. So he went to extreme measures and basically was ending up absorbing his own space station, which he rides on to everywhere. He uses this to absorb the energy from planets, and he adds it to a field to his engine and to himself, to feed himself through it. But this is pretty impressive because this thing not only drains the energy from worlds, so it has collections of countless different worlds energy within it, but it's also the size of a solar system. If you guys checked out my Galactus, you know, how strong is Galactus part videos, I explained throughout a couple of them that there was like evidence that showed that it was stated to be solar system size. So this is a solar system sized ship, and it even stated that the greatest energies source in the universe. It also, they stated that not only did he absorb that, but he also absorbed the sun too. So the sun that was left there with the planet, he absorbed that too. So not only did he absorb a spaceship that was the size of a solar system that absorbed countless other planets throughout millions and billions of years, but he also absorbed the sun itself that was there to supercharge himself. And we see as Doom was plotting, he stated, energy beyond kin seeds in the void of the suns seems dim by comparison. In the center of the nucleus of fundamental forces, Galactus comparably drinks the cosmic power. So he or power cosmic. So he states that when the energy was flowing out of the machine as he was absorbing it, it was so bright that it basically outshined the sun itself, and it was so bright you can see across all the planets and stuff. And Doom just says now, and this was important because Doom was plotting in his own way. Galactus was trying to absorb his ship, absorb the sun. And with absorbing it, he would power himself up, and he felt like he would be strong enough to not only breach into the domain of the Beyonder, but also force him to give him what he wants. And Doom was plotting against that to absorb the energy at the exact moment he was going to set it off, so he can have it in himself. Now, this is important because now with Doom absorbing this power into him, this is how powerful Galactus would have been. So when he challenges, Beyonder, we get to see how powerful Beyonder is. Because Galactus, with his power and the power of his ship and the power of the sun, he felt like it would be enough to beat him. And Doom absorbing it, he went against him, and he felt also that was enough, even though he's very powerful. So it kind of scales where his power is at. And it gets even more interesting when Doom finally gets the power and starts, realizing how impressive it is. He says, "My least whims alters the world around me, such as the terrible as the power coursing within me, that stone and steel are whips with nothing which to bend the transform into selfish obedience to my merit straight thought." He said, "I must control to separate the gossamer material world from my all-powerful thoughts before reality and all imagination become one hopelessly intermingled." And then he starts talking about the side effects of omniscience. He can see everything. He says, "I feel every cell, every atom, their textures, their quivering movements, and the dance of infinity." So with him absorbing all that power, and this is the power to challenge the Beyonder. So depending on how the Beyonder is able to handle it, we can see more of a, ceiling for his power. But he states that with just that power alone that he took from Galactus, with the absorption power, or the additional power that Galactus absorbed, he had so much power that just his thoughts alone was warping reality and shaping the steel and everything there, the stone. So it's basically warping the world there, the metal and the rocks. And then he also said that if he doesn't separate his, reality to his own mind, he's going to get it kind of intermingled. So he states the material world, which is just the physical world, with his own imaginative world, because whatever his imaginations conjure up, he can create turn the physical world into that. And if he doesn't control it, he will end up turning everything into whatever, end up causing some big problems. And then he also shows that his ability of his senses have also increased to such a dramatic extent that he can see not only every cell, every atom, but he can feel the texture of it, the movements, and even see the dance of infinity, or whatever that means. Now, after this, we see a little bit more as he's showcasing a little bit more of his power. He says, "No physical barrier can restrain my senses. I see that is far beyond seeing a compass. All that exists around me. I possess more senses than before. Empathy. Those imprisoned in the dungeon, I know their every thought, every secret, every smoldering gone in desire. How they separate them with hunger and wants, and each desires are tangible and stuff." So he basically showcases that now his sense of perception has heightened to such a high level that he's able to, perceive things all around him. So more like a 360, all 3D, senses and perception, and then he's also even able to see the prisoners down there, but not only see them, but he's also able to connect to their mind, their every thought, their every desire, how they separate their like thoughts, like, you know, the dormant thoughts of being hungry or just naturally breathing, because our brain naturally does that for us, and then the rest of our brain is just for us to think about stuff and, you know, put things together. But after this, we get some pretty interesting feat. We get another one where Reed Richards is basically talking as this whole event is going down. I think Doctor Doom started to fight the Beyonder at this point, and as he was fighting him, he says, there's the Beyonder's portal. Differentially, the source of this disturbance, shockwaves emaciating from there are causing upheavals in the very fabric of space and time, containing them for hundreds of cubic parsecs. So how big is a parsec? Now, a parsec, from what I found, is 3.26 light years, or 19.2 trillion miles. So when he's saying this, one parsec would be equivalent to 3.26 light years, or 19.2 trillion miles. So basically, if we multiply that by 100, that would make it 326 light years across, or around I'm pretty sure quadrillion 920 trillion miles, and just from the rift alone. So that's pretty impressive to see. So like I said, the energy that it was emitting was messing with the fabric of reality to around like 326 light years across, or around 1 quadrillion 920 trillion miles across. So sorry for that. Like I said, I had to go and research it and stuff, because that is a little bit interesting. Now, after this, as you know, Doom is trying to breach into there, he even states himself, he doubles and reduces his onslaught with each passing second. I must draw near, and still yet my power is not enough to thrust me. It has been blended by my energies and ebbs in defense. So Doom says, yes, I've gained enough power to be able to challenge him, but the problem with it is every time he keeps on moving, getting closer and closer, more the energy pushes back, and it starts to double and double every time he does it. But at some point he ends up becoming victorious, and he comes down to the earth and says, the Beyonder is dead, and the power which once was his is now mine. I'm Victor Von Doom. I'm the mightiest being in this or any universe. I can destroy you all with but a thought. Not only did he beat the Beyonder, but he also says he killed him. Now, that isn't true. We do find out, if you guys checked out my Galactus series on How Strong is Galactus, I talked about this event quite a bit, and I mentioned how, you know, Beyonder was actually still alive. He didn't have his power, and he was trying to get his power back by manipulating him in one way or another. But still, he was able to beat Beyonder and take his power completely for himself, with just the power of Galactus being supercharged with his ship and the star right there. But not only that, it's also interesting the fact that he said that he's not only the most powerful being in this universe, but in any universe, and then he could destroy them all with just a thought, so he doesn't even have to physically try that hard. But after this, we have Molecule Man basically kind of going after Doom, and as he does, he basically does an impressive feat. He says, now that I've tossed them out of the way along with several billion tons of this planet's crust, it's just you and me. So he was able to throw across casually several billions of tons away. Now this is impressive because this is nothing to Doctor Doom with the power of the Beyonder. So Beyonder is so impressively powerful that even a being that can casually throw away billions of tons is nothing to him. And as he approaches him, basically Doom is like, look, you're not going to beat me, let me show you something. So he shows him something pretty impressive. He says, behold the foundations of eternity, the intertwining of energies, which is the basics of all that is, and all things now are known unto Doom, and the secrets of the universe have been laid bare to me. I have given you a sighted gift and insight into the incarnate simplicity of existence. Inside you there's a great power. So then he basically touches him and unleashes his power. So he shows him the fundamental laws of the universe itself, eternity, because we know eternity eternity is the representation of the Marvel Universe. So he basically shows him the energies, the basics, the construction of it, how it works. And it's so, even though all this stuff is complex to us, it's very simple and basic to him. He says, this is very basic to me, and he's able to unlock Molecule Man's, impressively crazy power. As he does this, afterwards, the heroes all basically go after Doom themselves, and they try to confront him. And he stands up, he says, I cannot undo all the evil works of my life without unraveling a great deal of the fabric of reality, causing numerous upheavals in the time-space continuum. I can, though, easily set right some of the crimes of these few days past. So this is important because, like I said, it's good to showcase these characters, feats and abilities and how powerful they are, but it's also good to showcase kind of like where their limitations are, because I feel like a lot of people make it sound like these characters are completely unbeatable and stuff, and they have no limitations, but they do. It's just very few, and this is definitely one of them, where even though he has the power of the Beyonder and all that other additional power, and he can do so much in warp reality and space time and all this stuff, he knows that he can't fix all of his problems because it's just been so much history that's intertwined with the universe and everything, that if he used to do it, it would unravel everything, and he can't even change all these events without all these problems and fixing it. Now, this is a limitation because of he was having limitless power. He could change the fabrics of reality, and it wouldn't matter because he could reset or fix it and get rid of the paradox. But even with his power, he just can't do that, and he himself admits it. Now, after this, we have Captain America just talking directly to Doom, since they realize that they can't really do anything against him. And as he's talking to him, Dr. Doom basically starts explaining to him the power that he has. He says, I keep the power contained, completely bottled up inside me, least in an eventment flick of my finger should destroy a solar system or wipe out an entire galactic civilization. So he states that if he doesn't control his power, that even just a flick of his finger can destroy an entire solar system casually, or wipe out a galactic civilization. So that pretty much means he's a solar system buster. The galactic civilization part, though, basically means he can life wipe an entire galaxy. That doesn't mean he can wipe out an entire galaxy, not saying he can't, but from his statement right there, that's what it means. Now, after this, there's a little bit of him talking with, the Claw, and he once again explains. He says, a casual flick of my little finger might blacken a star system or wipe out an entire galactic civilization. Like Vishnu, I have become death. I am the destroyer of worlds. This universe is too fragile. So he himself once again states that if he used to do it, he would black out an entire star system, so basically an entire solar system, or a galactic civilization. And he even states that this universe is too fragile. And it makes sense. If he's able to do damage with just a flick of a finger, it makes sense that, the entire universe wouldn't be able to, it wouldn't be considered fragile to him. But as this is happening, Claw is trying to manipulate Doom and trick him to, either getting his power or to sneak attack him. And as this has happened, Doom basically talks to him and says, controlling my own, my subconscious dreams, I might throw all reality into chaos and even cause the destruction of the universe. So he's telling him the severity of the situation, saying that, hey, look, I don't know how to control this power because my body really can't handle it fully well right now. I'm still have a mortal body trying to contain, this godly power within me, right? And if I go to sleep, I'll lose control of that power. So I need to keep it contained and control it, because if I don't, then it will go all out, and if it goes all out, it will end up destroying the universe as a whole. As this is happening, though, he ends up getting enraged as he finds out that the heroes got revived. And as he does, he lets out a big amount of energy and it hits a star, and it basically disrupts the star and I guess destroys it. But as this is happening, he needs to go to sleep and control his power, and he just doesn't have the time for the heroes, but he needs to take care of them. And the Claw suggests, like, hey, look, how about I help you out? How about you give me a fraction of your power? You can go slumber, you can go try to conserve your power and control it while I handle them for you. And he says he doesn't want to do it, but he says, okay, I will do it. So he ends up giving him power. He says, I gave you an infinitesimal microfraction of my strength, enough to blacken 10,000 suns, far more than enough to slay them. So he says that he gave him only a fraction of his power, a microfraction actually, and that's enough to wipe out 10,000 suns. So what just a microfraction of his power, he's able to destroy 10,000 suns. Now, after that, that was pretty much the ending of the first Secret Wars event. There was quite a bit of stuff there, but that was the end of the first one. And the whole way where he lost the Beyonder's power is basically the Claw tricked him, trying to attack him, and then at that moment, Beyonder was able to take the power from what's his name, Victor Von Doom, because at that point, Doom's mind, he was implementing a lot of mental struggles with if he can handle this or if he deserves this. And then after this, we transition over into the second Secret Wars event, and it's a little bit confusing at first because Beyonder in this event, he changes from since he's not purely an actual physical form, he's more of an energy form. He can shape his form however he wants, and he changes it to many different people and stuff, so it can get a little confusing. So I'll just explain it while I go throughout this video. Also, the little bit of thing that's complex about this, you're going to see some of the images being a little bit more different due to the fact that this event is not very linear. What it does is it goes through Secret Wars, the second Secret Wars, and then it hops into other comic book series like the X-Men or Spider-Man or the Incredible Hulk or the Thor, and then they go back to Secret Wars. So it goes from this comic to these other ones, but they're all intertwined, and some of the stuff is kind of hard to tell where the chronology was, but you can kind of get it, gist of it as he explains the story. But as we first see him, he takes the appearance of Owen Reese, or the Molecule Man, so that's why it kind of looks like the Molecule Man, but that's the Beyonder. He reaches into one of the members of the X-Men, I don't know who she is, but he's able to pull out this dark, demonic side of her. So she has this dark demonic power within her, and nobody else knew it, but he was able to pull it out. Oh, and as he did this, he also sent everybody else to the limbo, space beyond, or a place beyond time and space. So that was pretty crazy and interesting to see. As he does this, he's tries to understand and try to learn more about humanity, because the reason he came here is the moment there was a breach between his dimension and our dimension, or the Marvel universe and stuff, he was able to realize, that there's a world outside of him, and he was able to feel desire. And he's never felt this before, but now he started to feel desire, and he wanted to understand what is desire like. So he started following Captain America, and as he was following him, he basically replicated his body down by every cell and stuff, showcasing that he can recreate not only morph his energy form into a physical body, or looking of a physical body, but he can also replicate completely 100% everything of that physical body. But it goes on to say, he says, physically having but 3 dimensions instead of infinite numbers, such thing as was unknown to me. So he usually, since he's an energy form, he has no dimensions to him. So he has basically an infinite possibility of dimensions. He can shape himself through all space and time however he wants. But now he got 100% a solid form and a 3-dimensional form, which we are 3-dimensional beings in a 3-dimensional universe. And since he's in a universe outside of the multiverse, most likely he's in a infinite dimension, supposedly. Now, after this, he wants to learn more about his desire, so he goes to find Iron Fist and Luke Cage, and as he tries to find them, they're not there. So he uses one of his abilities, and he says, peering into the distant past, not too distant past, his godlike senses, he observes that indeed they have been here, and indeed he plucks them from prior point from the time stream and bring them to now. So basically, he went there to ask for them for their help. They weren't there, so he was able to see through the time stream when the last time they were there. So it was probably maybe a couple hours ago, and he plucked them from that time stream into the now. So he was able to view when they were there and then pull them from that point to the future. So he can mess with time however he wants. He can perceive it and then pull people out of the time stream itself. But it doesn't go well for him, as Iron Fist and Luke Cage basically start attacking him. What the hell? What did he do that for? We don't know who he is. So they start attacking him. And as they start to talk, and they realize oh, okay, you didn't mean us no harm. Okay, you want to learn more. They basically Luke Cage explains to him that money is very important, and he's like, okay, I understand. So he transforms their building into pure solid gold, which collapses in on itself, which is pretty impressive that he can, transform and create anything however he wants, kind of like Mr. Mixie from DC. So he did that, and after that he felt like his job was done, so he leaves. And as he leaves, both the Iron Fist and Luke Cage end up disappearing back into the time stream from once they came from, since he left. So they go back into that. After this, we have a little bit of more of development from Beyonder, as he pretty much, he gets into contact with this mobster, and this mobster is showing him the desires, like understanding of desire, and desiring is owning things, of being a master of things and everything. So he realizes that, you know what? I want to be like him. I understand what he means. I want to own things and stuff. So he starts to own things, and he starts to go even further and saying, why should I limit my control to humans and other higher life forms? I can bring even the bacteria and viruses under my control. And why stop there? Even the inanimate matter that can be controlled, how simple to seize control of every molecule and every atom and every particle of substance in this world. Now everything is mine. So basically what happened was he... learning from him, he said owning things is, what desire is, getting more and gaining more, because that's how, a gangster would think. So as he learns from him, he's like, well, I have the ability to control people. So he put humans and animals under his control first, and then the plant life. And he realized that even though they're all under his control, that's just not enough. So he wanted to control all like the viruses and even the bacteria. So even things that small. And then he got even smaller to, the subatomic level. He started controlling particles, molecules, substance, everything in the world. So at that point, he controlled everything. Everything that exists and that is, he was able to control, was under his control. But this caught the attention of Owen Reese, as he realizes that his popcorn is under the control of Beyonder. So he relinquishes the control of it for the popcorn and his girlfriend. So they get back. So he's able to showcase that even though Beyonder is very powerful, Molecule Man himself is also very, very powerful, as he was able to reverse what Beyonder was able to do with his control. But after this, Beyonder basically lets go of all the control, and he tries to learn more, so he tries to go to more dimensions. And he says that, namely that in a many-layered composite of seemingly endless number of dimensions, indeed it is a multiverse, beckoning him to explore. So what happened was, he said maybe owning everything isn't the right thing to do. Maybe I should just understand and try to, analyze it. So as he does, he basically uses his cosmic awareness to see these other dimensions, and he states himself that it's the Marvel universe is a many layered dimensions, so it is a multiverse. So he's saying that it has many layers of dimensions, so other universes, other domains, other realms that are their own universes. So this is all comprises within the multiverse itself. So he states that yes, it is a many-layered multiverse, and he's able to journey through it. As he does, it says, traversing through the myriad of planes of casuals as he would stroll around the block, he observes the golden realm of Asgard, home of mighty Thor and the majestic Norse gods, the stagnant domain of the demonic Mephisto, and the weirdly organic planetary structures of the microverse. So he was now going into other dimensions and other realities. He was first, he was astrally projecting himself throughout the universe, then throughout Asgard, then throughout even Mephisto's domain, and then into the microverse. And then he even went on to say, and the eerie dark dimension where mystic energies unknown of the earth ebb and flow, ultimately found his way to the crossroads which lies at the nexus of realities. So he basically was able to analyze everything else. He found the dimension where all magic is kept and all magic is held. And then he also was able to find the reality or the dimension of nexus of realities, which I've already talked about also in the How Strong is Galactus video towards the tail end. There was these crystals that were these nexus portals, and this is what connected all the universes and all these realities and dimensions within each other. So if you can access that, you can access the entire multiverse itself, and that's what he was able to do. Now as we move on, we go on to the next event where basically at this point Beyonder has like a girlfriend, and she ends up basically ending her life. She ends up committing suicide because she thinks he left her or whatever, and he finds her like Death Note, and he basically says she's dead by human medical standards, but not beyond the reach of my power. So he brings her back to life, and so this is pretty interesting. He can bring back people to life, but he says she was dead on a human medical standard. So I guess there's different levels and planes of life and death. There's the physical, or the I think they call it in real life is like medical death or something like that. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But yeah, so there's that death, which is basically your brain doesn't function anymore. But I guess there's also a spiritual level, and if it goes past that, then he can't revive them. But if they do physically just die, he can bring them back to life, which is it's a little interesting. It's interesting on one hand he can bring them to life, but also there is some limitation there. But as he realizes that this woman is just not right for him, that she was just only with him because he was providing her money and just giving her things, and she didn't really love him, he wanted to find somebody that he could truly love. So he found the Dazzler. He said she was the best woman perfectly for being his partner, and he tried to woo her, but she just wasn't buying it. So he said, you know what, fine, I have a really great plan to get you to really like me. So what he does is he shares some of his power with her. He actually shares half of his power with her, and basically shares his love, and they're both able to amalgamate within the universe itself. But as that happened, she didn't want none of that, and she didn't want to do anything with him, so she tried to get away from him. He tried to chase after her. She said, fine, I'm going to get rid of this power, so she lets go of the power, which was a terrible idea. But when she does this, it says, drained, she falls, reeling from the sudden overwhelming influx of energy equal to that of the other energy in the existence times 1,000. The one from beyond cannot react in time. And then she falls and dies. So this is interesting for two reasons. So one, they said the influx of energy equal to that of all other energy in the existence times 1,000. So basically meaning that with half the power that she was able to gain from him, when she released it, the amount of energy that was released was equivalent to the entire, I'm guessing, universe. It's just all of the energy in existence. Sometimes existence can be the multiverse or the universe, but I'm going to just go most likely with the universe. So with half of his power, it's like the equivalent of 1,000 universes. So it's the total sum of 1,000 universes, just half of that, which is very impressive. So meaning half of his power is relinquished, it could basically, is equal to 1,000 times that of the universe itself, of all the energy in the universe itself. But there's also kind of an anti-feat due to the fact that her falling to her death, they stated that even with the one from beyond cannot react in time. You would think with his level of speed and power, even though like the fact that he only had half of his power, that he would be fast enough to catch her. That doesn't really make much sense in my eyes. But as this happened, he basically ends up spazzing out, and he starts exploding. As he explodes, he sends off an energy attack, and it starts to fire off into space, and goes off into deep space. And they stated instantly 1 billion parsecs away from Earth, it strikes a galaxy and utterly obliterates it. So this is impressive for a couple of reasons. One, instantly this attack was able to go 1 billion parsecs in an instant, and it was able to destroy an entire galaxy. So that was a galaxy level attack, and it was able to destroy legit it was able to not only destroy a galaxy, but go 1 billion parsecs. Now, we already talked about this, that a parsec is basically 3.26 light years. So 1 billion of that would be literally 3,260 million light years. So that attack instantly was able to go 3,260 million light years across. And if we want to do it with miles itself, calculations now, 19.2 trillion miles times 1 billion would be around 19 sextillion 200 quintillion miles away. In an instant, he was able to fire an attack at that. So if a character is fighting against him, just know that the Beyonder is able to fire a blast at that speed instantly. So in an instant, he's able to cross a distance with his attack at that far range, and is able to destroy a galaxy. So now after this, as he comes back down to his senses, he ends up bringing her back to life, and he states that she wasn't past, even though her body was shattered, she wasn't past the brink of complete death, which is, once again, a little confusing what they mean by that. It's like, when you physically die, wouldn't you go automatically to the afterlife? But I guess there's some steps that you take before you fully reach to the afterlife, and once when you do, you're considered completely dead, and he just can't do anything about that. But afterwards, we have another little bit storyline, a little side story with Dazzler and her own story, where she's hanging out with the Beyonder, and he says, it doesn't matter if you like, I can just reverse time to the exact instant you took away, like Mr. Chase need to, of any memory of you. So he basically states that he can pluck anybody or anything, or reverse time to any exact moment. So he can manipulate, like I said, not only the universe, but time itself. So he's able to manipulate time either by plucking people out of the time stream or reversing time itself as a whole. So that's pretty impressive. But after this, we see, as he's trying to understand more of Desire and trying to understand more of his place in this universe and his power, he basically turns himself into pure energy, pure lightning. So he was pure energy before, but it was a different type of energy. Now he's pure lightning energy. He's able to transform his body into, and then he was able to even grasp the electrical force itself, which is something that, we saw Luffy doing. So he was able to casually turn himself into electrical energy itself, and even grab a hold onto electrical energy. Now after this, we have another story event. We skip over to some story with these weird superpowered beings, and this one kid that basically wants Beyonder to bring his parents back to life, and Beyonder says some things shall are impossible even to the Beyonder, one from beyond. But then he goes on to say, fortunately this was a wish of yours, is not one of them. Your parents have not yet passed beyond the pale, which to you humans is final death. And then he brings them back. So this is interesting. He states, once again, another limitation. He states that he cannot bring somebody that's been completely gone to beyond of death itself. So he states that there's other stages of death, and the human stage is just the beginning, and then there's the final death, and that's when, I guess, they reach the afterlife. And once you reach the afterlife, he just can't really bring them back to life. But luckily for this person, they weren't dead, and he goes on to explain what happened. And if you see, he talked about there's a dimension, a void. He goes on to basically say there's a dimensional void between realities where those who are stolen from their minds and memories were exiled, and the guy says limbo, and he says yes, so he brings them back. So that's why he was able to bring back this kid's parents, because they weren't technically dead. They were just, their minds and I guess spirits were taken out of them and taken to limbo itself. So he was able to pull them out of limbo as a whole. But then we transitioned back into the Secret War story event, as he basically is back in his dimension. He says, meanwhile, in a universe beyond time and space and all dimensions known to any in our universe. So he basically once again states that his universe, his domain where he lives, is not only outside of the Marvel universe, but all of time and space and all of dimensions, so the entire multiverse as a whole. So it's above those also. But he comes back to Earth, and he gets into contact with this one little girl who's a mutant, and he starts talking to her, and he starts learning more from her. He says, if you need my help, he says, just yell, I'll probably hear you. If I'm in this universe, I'm omniscient usually. Now this is also pretty interesting, showcasing that he does have some omniscience where he can understand everything, even though he's trying to understand Desire, which would kind of make it seem like, well, if you can understand a thing and you're omniscient, you would understand the meanings of Desire. But he does say that he usually has omniscience, so he doesn't always have it, and I guess he still does need to learn a bit of understanding. But after this, he starts to tweak out and starts to show her more of his power. He starts to pull up on the Celestials and starts to show them that they're kind of useless because he has a problem with them. He says, here's where it is. It gets really amusing. If you're responsible for this universe, then stop me from destroying it. So he basically goes at the Celestials and says, hey, look, I'm not fucking around. I'm sick and tired of you guys just standing around doing nothing. If you guys are truly responsible for this universe, then do something about it, because I'm about to destroy it. So he's going to do a universal level event. and the Beyonders step in as they attack him. They send out power. As they do, he says the trouble is lesser beings cannot really perceive the bulk of the action, the billions of feints, thrusts, and parries per second. So it might look like he's just stationary and they're blasting him and he's tanking it or whatever, but he explains that he's moving so fast that the human eye cannot see or mortals cannot perceive it, that he's able to do billions of feints, so basically throw fake attacks and dodges, and then thrust. I don't know what the hell he means by thrust. That's not really a fighting term. I'm guessing that means strikes, and parries, which is basically just moving the attack to the side. So he's able to do billions of these movements and feints per second. So just showcasing his tremendous speed. Not only does he has tremendous power, but he also has tremendous speed. It's just that it looks like when he fights is usually stationary, but he's usually just moving so fast that they don't show. And I guess it's also a lazy way to not illustrate him moving, but just explain it. But he also showcases more of his power as he's able to age this girl, because the girl, I'm pretty sure she was like 13 or 14, and he's able to age her into being 21, and also like control her power and stuff like that. So he's able to showcase that he can do pretty much anything. After this, he goes to find Doctor Strange and trying to get some more perspective from him. Like I said, throughout this entire story event, in the Secret Wars second story event, he's just going from hero to hero to hero to basically get a better perspective and understanding of desires and what's so special about humans, because there's something unique about humans that draws him towards them. So as he goes there, he pulls up and Doctor Strange has his assistants there and stuff, and he's being disrespectful. He walks up, he says, when the being ripped the cover opening, violating the spells wrought by Agamotto himself, I had not thought that such a thing possible, Master. So they're basically explaining themselves through what happened was he pulled up on them. He was trying to find where Doctor Strange was. He went up to the Eye of Agamotto, which created the spell to cast itself to protect himself. And the Agamotto is very powerful. It's like a very powerful magical extra dimensional being, but to Beyonder, it's nothing. He was able to dispel his spell that was to protect him pretty casually, and that's why they were pretty surprised. But as this happens, Doctor Strange, as he meets up with basically the Beyonder, he's kind of contemplating of if he should help him out or not. I'm stumbling over my words. I am a little bit sick, so it's a little hard to get some of the words out. So he's basically contemplating, should I help him out or should I attack him? And he says he could erase the universe with a thought. So he knows that he could casually wipe out the entire universe. So he's kind of like, I'm kind of iffy on helping him out. And as this happens later on, we see the Beyonder talking to this guy. This guy, we get explained throughout the story as the Beyonder tries to understand his journey and his desire. He kind of realizes at some point that maybe my desire is to help out other people understand their desires. So he creates this whole agency to help other people, and he gets this one guy to help him out. And this was also to help out that guy's desire to be important, because he really doesn't need his help, but he just gets him to help him, so he feels like he's being important. So to get this guy on his side, he has to first show him his steps and what he went through, and then his interaction with Doctor Strange, which is quite interesting. Because he goes on to say, at first for a moment he had me at a disadvantage. I was drunk, disorientated, uncaring. He might have been able to zap me off into a pocket dimension someplace, keep me constantly inebriated, and thus rid me from the multiverse of me forever. So he's basically stating himself that, at this point I was at my lowest. I didn't know what to do. I was just getting drunk, and I was allowing it, since the only way he would be able to get drunk is if he allows it, and he just didn't care anymore. So as he allowed it, the alcohol basically got him drunk, and as he was in this state, when he met Doctor Strange, he was not all in his head, and he stated that Doctor Strange could have easily trapped him into a pocket dimension, left him in this drunk, inebriated state, and he wouldn't have been able to break out of it, and it would have rid the multiverse of him being a threat the entire time. But he didn't do it because he's a hero and he wanted to help him out. So this is once again impressive. This is actually kind of impressive for Doctor Strange, because he could have actually stopped him, and this can kind of be an anti-feat for him, but kind of not. The reason why I say it is kind of an anti-feat, obviously, is because he would have been stuck in a puck dimension. He said he wouldn't be able to break out of it, and also Doctor Strange with his power would have been able to put him under this illusion forever, but he didn't do it. He chose not to do it. Now, this is kind of an anti-feed because he was trapped there, but it's kind of not because he said he was not caring. He allowed the alcohol to do that, so it wasn't like he was tricked or something happened. He just allowed it. But as he keeps on going on to explain to this guy, he says not even in the sense that you and I are. They are conceptual beings, insatiable. An idea yet powerful beyond imagination. Actual beings, especially lesser ones like you, have trouble conceiving of them and much less understanding them. What you saw were the essence expressions of potential forms that you can relate to. So, like he said, he's talking now about the cosmic beings in the multiverse that we have seen, the Living Tribunal, Eon, what else it was, like the In-Betweener, Lord Chaos and Master Order and stuff like that, right? These were all conceptual beings, and these were beings that lived in another dimension, and they basically governed the universe, and then the Living Tribunal governed the entire multiverse. So these were conceptual beings, and even he's explained the hierarchy to him, and he's explained that they're actually beings of concept, and they just give physical form for regular mortals to understand, and that they're also very powerful. So he's explaining the complexity of the Marvel universe and the power scaling of it. As we go on, he's explaining a little bit more, or I think he's explaining, or I forgot. I'm pretty sure it was the Watchers. They pulled up on Molecule Man to get asking for help, saying, "Hey, look, Beyonder's going crazy. We need your help." And they started explaining the backstory. They say, a burst of energy that should have killed him instead served to unlock the potential inside him. That was the true birth of Owen Reese, an event which shook the universe, nailed the multiverse to its foundation, and made the mighty tremble. And then he goes on to say that the entire history of the multiverse was about to be prelude to his birth, and yet to cling to his miserable human failings. It also goes on saying he doubted himself in fear and, his omnipotence, true omnipotence. So this is explaining that Owen Reese, the Molecule Man, is really, really powerful. He himself is really powerful, and like I said, I know a lot of you guys are going to say, well, aren't you going to already do a Molecule Man video on how strong he is, so why are you talking about his stuff here? It's important because him and Beyonder, both their stories are intertwined, and they do confront each other quite a bit, so it is important to talk about what he's capable of. But with his energy being unlocked and with a burst of energy, it basically stated that he unlocked the potential inside him, and his birth basically shook the universe, no, the entire multiverse. So not only the universe got affected by this, but the entire multiverse realized how powerful he was and how much of a threat he was, and even the mighty beings were able to realize it and realize how much of a threat he had become. And they also once again explained that the entire multiverse was but a prelude to his rebirth, meaning that him being turned into the Molecule Man was a very significant event throughout the entire multiverse as a whole. And then they go on to explain like how Doom unlocked his power, saying, and for the first time, Owen Reese became aware that he was the most powerful being in the multiverse. So they stated that he's the most powerful being in the multiverse. He isn't the most powerful. If you guys see, I'll explain later on why he isn't, and why Beyonder is actually above him, and there's actual evidence why Beyonder's above him. But he is one of the most powerful beings in the multiverse because of that event. And then they go on to explain more that though the race is backward with each lies the potential for power of cosmic scale, Owen Reese possessed the greatest potential of all of them. By chance he achieved it. And then they said, and now that he is known, he is mightier than all of the beings in the multiverse. He sought only peace within himself and joy in things and the utter happiness of life. And then, the Beyonder's explaining why he's asking him as the console, like looking at the multiverse being in danger due to the Beyonder himself. So this is interesting. They're basically stating that, yes, these cosmic beings are powerful, but they were born and created for this power, and that's how their power stays. Whereas mortals, even though they were created weaker, they have more potential, and they can actually gain more and more power to the point they can actually rival these cosmic level beings like Mephisto, like the In-Betweener, like Death, like Eternity, and like even the Living Tribunal. So we can have these characters reaching that level of power. So if you ever see these like mortals or like, human characters reaching that level of power, and you're like, that doesn't make any sense. That's just how their cosmology runs and works with their potential. But they stated specifically that Owen Reese himself was specifically and particularly unique to the point that he had the highest potential out of any mortal, and that so high to the fact that he surpassed all the beings in the multiverse. So he was able to go above them all. So all those other, even the conceptual beings, which is really, really powerful. But after this, we have Beyonder. Basically, he's having this whole televised thing as he's explaining to humanity about his further plans. He goes on to say, it's because I'm bigger than the multiverse, more powerful than any of the forces in it, of every kind combined. As long as I'm here, the way of the multiverse is my way. So he kind of goes on more of a tyrannical, Crusadan approach, as he says that he's bigger than the multiverse. He's more powerful than all the forces in every kind combined. So basically saying that every force within the multiverse combined is not even equivalent to him. That's how powerful he is. You can get the multiverse and every force and anybody in it and combine their power, and they will not match his, which is insanely powerful. Now, after this, he wants to showcase his power, and he starts to do something a little bit more crazy and drastic, so he can change the laws of the universe, so he can, usher in his new plan and what he's doing. As he's doing this, his assistant's like, what's happening? And he goes on to explain. He says, it doesn't mean there's really just one role of purpose worthy of me as a champion of life. I do not know why it doesn't occur to me when you said it in your speech, but anyway, let's see. Yes, it can be done. I'll have some preparation, a lot of detailing afterwards, but I can do it easily. A big step once is done is forever, but I shall do it. So he's trying to, he's trying to change the fundamentals laws of the multiverse itself and how it runs and operates, because he, at this point, he realized that his goal or his journey should be to be a champion of life. Because in Marvel, there is the evil forces of evil and good, and then the concepts of death, and then the concepts of life. And this is a constant battle between these two deities and beings of life and death. And it encompasses the entire multiverse, and now he considers himself as a champion of life itself. So he wants to help out life by changing the fundamental laws of the multiverse, and we get to see the severity of what his planning is. But as he's doing it, he says it's pretty easy to do it, but he does this and death is there. So he states that a preparation will be for history, so we will be grazing for that matter of fung will have to change. And then he says, a fine wine bit forth, perhaps there's something amusing the apprentice. And then he says, Beyonder, are you sure about this? I mean, no more death of anything ever. So there it is. His plan is basically as a champion of life, since the construct of life is fighting constantly against death. He wants to get rid of the concept of death itself, so he's going to kill it. So he's going to use his power to kill it, to change the fundamental laws of the multiverse itself. And once he gets rid of death, there will be no more dying. So he uses his power to do it. As he's talking to his assistant, he says, true, but the point is that this is done. Once this is done, I won't have enough power to undo it. I can't bring her back. So he put quite a bit of his power into this elixir that can even kill the concept of death. So once when he created this elixir and gave it to Death, Death took it, Death ended up dying, and he states that once when she dies, he cannot undo it because, one, he used up quite a bit of his power, but two, also, he just can't really reverse getting rid of a concept. Once when you get rid of a concept like death, you can't undo that, even with his power. It's beyond his limit. And as this is happening, all the other cosmic beings and, conceptual beings are feeling this, and they're worried. They're saying, do you sense it? It begins. The absence of death ripples throughout the ether like a shockwave. The simpler life forms are already affected by the energy sustained from plants. Soon, though, full effect will reach all life in the multiverse. So basically, after Death died, they're worried. They're like, look, this is fucking up the ecosystem. This is fucking up how we run this cosmic balance. And now everything there's no death anymore. So these beings couldn't even stop him. Even the living tribunal, all of them could not stop Beyonder from his plan and his goals on achieving what he was going to do, and he basically ended up killing the concept of death. Now, when he did this, Owen Reese got pissed, and he comes back and he confronts him, and he tells him, he says, look, with all my power, I cannot even kill this rose or nothing, except why should I bother withering the flowers in the garden anymore? So basically, he gets mad. He says to him that the powers of the multiverse together cannot kill something to get it started again. Nice work. So he's stating that that when he did this, when he got rid of the concept of death, not only can Beyonder not kill or destroy anything or reverse it, he cannot reverse the concepts of death. He cannot kill anything anymore. But even the Molecule Man, even somebody as powerful as Molecule Man, cannot kill even a rose. He cannot even destroy a rose. So that's how insane this effect is. Even as powerful as being as the Beyonder, Molecule Man, and even the other beings in the multiverse, all these other cosmic level powers in the multiverse cannot undo this event that he did. So that's how big the effect was. So this is once again a limitation, not only for Beyonder, but for Molecule Man and everybody else, that yes, they can pretty much destroy or kill anything, but without the concept of death, they cannot do that. They cannot just recreate death themselves out of nothing. But as that happened, the Beyonder's assistant realizes that they fucked up. He's like, we need to change this back. We need to change it. And then Beyonder says, Dave, I can't. The only way to do that would be to killing something that's beyond even my power now. So he himself admits that he cannot, but there's a way to do it, to bring back death, and that's without killing, is basically having somebody sacrifice himself to become the new death, or the host of death. So that's what Dave does. He wants to make amends for his rash decision, so he ends up giving up his own life. When he gives up his own life for it, and he ends up dying, he becomes the replacement for death. So technically, there was a way to death to like kill somebody, but it wasn't really killing; it was exchanging it. So he exchanged his life for death itself, and once when death got her power back, she came back. Now everything could die, and the guy ends up basically trading his life. So Beyonder couldn't do anything about it. None of them could do anything about it. The best they could do is just trade his life for Lady Death's, for her to come back into existence. Now, after the events of Death being revived and stuff, there was a big major story event afterwards where what's his name? Mephisto basically you want to take down the Beyonder because he realizes how much of a threat he is, and he's terrified of him, and he does not like that. He wants to get rid of him completely. So he advises a plan by creating this machine called the Beyonder's Bane, and the way he basically made this was by using the energy that was released from Beyonder when he used the potion to destroy death. Once when he did it, he absorbed that energy into the machine, and now he's using that energy to attack the Beyonder. So if you guys are kind of wondering how the hell is this machine going to kill Beyonder, just know that this machine is powered by and run by the Beyonder's power himself that he used mostly when he destroyed Death. And he's talking to Death about his plan and what he's going to do. So this is one part of his plan. He created this machine that absorbed the energy from the Beyonder when he released it, and he's going to use it against him. And the way he's going to use it against him is pretty interesting. He says, you see, as such, lackeys shake hands with bitter horn, and he's imprinted with an invisible sign which mystically links him to Beyonder's Bane. When the time is ripe, the lackeys will attack the Beyonder, and if he uses any of his awesome power against them, or if one of them but touches him, a mysterious circuit will be closed, and all the energy within Beyonder's Bane will be surging back into the Beyonder, suddenly overwhelming him, a power feedback, destroying him in a cataclysmic fireball of naked energy. Earth too shall be destroyed along with approximately a third of the universe. So the plan basically is this machine used up all the energy of when he constructed it. It absorbed all the energy that the Beyonder released, and Beyonder usually when he releases power, uses power, it gets like whenever you form of like energy gets released, the energy dissipates around the surrounding area, but he's also able to bring that energy back and contain it back within him. But this time Mephisto created the machine while it happened and trapped that energy within it, so he was going to use the energy back at him. And the way he was going to use it was by putting seals on these villains that he got on his side to try to attack him or use his power, or if they touch him, it basically, the contract is sealed, and once it is sealed, it connects to the machine and it sends all that energy instantly back at him, overwhelming his body. So instantly he gets all of his energy back at once, which would give him an over feedback and end up destroying him. And by overfeeding him and exploding him, by doing so, it would end up destroying 1/3 of the universe, which is pretty crazy if you ask me. So yeah, 1/3 of the universe would have been wiped out from that power that he had back at him. But that's not it. That's not just it, because he has more to his plan. He goes on to say, but thanks to the consensus among all the great beings of the multiverse, I have another source to draw upon. In fact, the critical moment, for one brief instant, all the power in the universe shall be added to what I already have. So he goes on to explain what he means by that. As he says, for the operations of my inferior machine, my gunner, if will, this personification of the universe itself, eternity, with the power there must be enough. So he basically states that not only is it going to reshoot all of his power back into him instantly, but now also eternity, the universe itself, is willing to work with him to hook himself up to this machine to let his energy out to take him out, because he just knows how big of a threat he is. So he's willing to work with somebody as evil as Mephisto just to take down the Beyonder, because he's just viewed as that much of a threat. And even though the universe will lose 1/3 of its mass and body, he's willing to make that sacrifice because he knows he's a bigger threat than that. So after this, we have Owen Reese once again. He's in a room and you see like this weird space area, and his girlfriend walks into there. She's like, "What's happening?" And he says, I like to keep it that way, so I came here to probe the universe. Just as I suspected, the major powers of the multiverse except me, that is, are conspiring against the Beyonder. I cannot quit until their very plan is. Quite tell what their very plan is. Now what do I do? Half of me wants to warn the Beyonder, and the other half wants them to succeed. I am scared of him, too, Marsh. But what will I do? So he basically states that the other powers of the multiverse, the other beings that are on like the council and shit, they're working with Mephisto, even though he's evil. They're working with Eternity and having Eternity make such a big sacrifice just to take out Doom. And he realizes this with his, cosmic awareness. But the problem is he's kind of conflicted on what he should do. Should he help him out because he's been kind of a mentoring Beyonder and being a little bit of a friend to him, because he's the only other person who's powerful enough to understand the Beyonder's like situation. But also on top of it, he realizes that he's terrified of the Beyonder because the Beyonder is stronger than him. So like I said, even though they stated he was the most powerful being in the universe, it wasn't technically true, because Beyonder is actually stronger than him, and he was so strong that he terrified him, and he doesn't know if he wants to let them do it, because he doesn't know if he can handle him himself. So after that happened, their plan failed because at one point Mephisto contacted the Thing. He amplified his power by hundreds of times, and he multiplied his power. And because the Thing hated Beyonder too, because he ruined him after the first Secret Wars event, he thought he could use him to help him out, but he ended up turning against Mephisto and destroying, taking down all the villains to stop them from touching the Beyonder. As he did this, the energy ended up overpowering, blowing up the machine, and it went back to him. It said unimaginable energies blowing outwardly, vaporizing the vast areas of the stagnant realm. So, what happened when Thing basically ruined his plan? The machine couldn't handle it because it needed that exact moment. So the moment came and passed. It ended up not working. The machine blew up and let out the energy so the Beyonder can absorb all of his power back. And as this happened, his own domain, major portions of his domain were basically destroyed and eradicated because of it. But after this, Beyonder is basically, he's just tired of this whole journey. He's just like, you know what, I'm sick and tired of it. maybe it's best if I just end up letting myself die. And he orchestrates this plot by using this one character that's supposed to be specifically unique to be able to beat him. He says the Puma has the power to destroy me and doesn't even know it. I have concluded, Spider-Man, that my ultimate role is to die. So yeah, he kind of gets into a point where he's like, I guess I'm putting too much danger in this world. Everybody doesn't want me here. Ever since I've been here, I'm just getting attacked. I don't truly understand desire, but now I guess I found a way to get rid of this whole problem by getting rid of myself. And how am I going to do this? By getting the help of this guy named Puma to do it for me, who has the power to do so. And he goes on as we get into when Puma does get the power to be able to fight him. Spider-Man shows up to try to intervene and stop what's happening, and Beyonder says, "Stay back, Spider-Man." Once the Puma fit exactly into his life role without any doubts, the universe aligned itself around him harmoniously. He is one with the universe, and he has the power to kill even me. So what he's saying is that he was destined to kill him, and now that he's accepted his destiny and everything has come perfectly together with destiny and the alignments of the universe, now the entire universe is aligned with him and one with him, and now he has the power of the universe and he has the power of destiny to go and kill Beyonder, and Beyonder states that even he has the power now to kill him. So at this point, the only person who was more powerful than the Beyonder was Puma once when he got the alignment and the destiny itself. And then besides that would be like Molecule Man, but he's below him. But he tries to come in, Spider-Man tries to intervene. He does attack him and hit him, and he goes on to say, the power, what happened to it? You doubted momentarily. You doubted your goal. You were out of the harmony with the universe. Puma, we have both failed. So basically what Beyonder is saying right here is that he needed to be 100% certain with his destiny so he could align himself perfectly with the universe. Once he does it, he gets the power of the universe, and then this is ordained within the universe that he should die. And when he attacks, he should be able to kill him. But he wasn't 100% sure once when he attacked him. He kind of doubted himself because of Spider-Man's interference and telling him not to do this and that. So it ended up failing and not killing him. So after this, we have somebody trying to attack him because that failed. So what happened was the Phoenix Force takes over one of the other members from the X-Men to try to go after and kill him. And she goes after him trying to use her full power. She says, I flared like a supernova. I hit this island with all the power I possess. Now, this could mean that the power she hit was supernova level or beyond that, because we have stated before that the Phoenix Force, in terms of power, at most or most likely is around universal levels of power. And she said she hit it with a supernova, so it's either around the ranges of a supernova or a universe, but still it did nothing to him. So that amount of power is not going to damage him. But you could kind of argue maybe that that's not that it is an equivalent to a supernova, due to the fact that when you look at the damage, it's nowhere near that big. It doesn't even destroy the island. But who knows? She might have been able to contain that power within her to minimize, the damage itself. But then she's like just surprised what's happening. She's like, how this is impossible. And Beyonder explains, you could as soon as destroy the universe, since manifestation in your reality I have striven to understand. So basically he explains to her that, you have the power of the Phoenix Force, which you yourself could destroy the universe as a whole, but it's still just not enough for him. So she has universal level of destructive power with the full utilization of the Phoenix Force, but that universal level of destructive power is not enough to take down somebody as powerful as Beyonder himself. And as this happens, he tries to show her some perspective, so he goes into her mind and shows her all of time. He shows her the history of the Phoenix Force and back and forth and stuff, and her story of Rachel Summers, who is the host of the Phoenix Force, and all this stuff. So he just shows that. Now after her attempt fails and then she realizes that she couldn't do anything, he's like, you know what, I'm sick and tired. I've had enough. I'm tired of trying to understand. I'm tired of this desire crap. I'm tired of doing all these stuff, fighting for life. I did that. It didn't go out well. I had these guys try to attack me. I had her try to attack me. I'm just done with this. And he goes on and he starts going on a rampage. He says that I want to destroy all existence. So he lets out all of his energy and his power, and you see it going up into deep space as it destroys the moon, cracking in half. It hits a star, also destabilizing and destroying that. And then we see even further as it stated, ever since I've discovered this stupid multiverse existed, I've been unhappy. I can't stand it anymore. And then Molecule Man says, oh, the Beyonder just let loose a little energy. So just with a little bit of energy, his power going out from the Earth to outer space was able to obliterate countless planets and stars throughout not only the universe, but apparently the multiverse, as we see Owen Reese consolidating the Beyonder, and as he's doing it, he holds up one finger and it says, quietly Owen Reese, who is also the near omnipotent Molecule Man, repairs the incredible multiverse wide destruction rod, one from the Beyonder mere seconds ago. So this is a crazy feat for both of them. One, it literally states right there that the energy that the Beyonder shot out when he was just a little pissed, not only destroyed planets and stars within the universe, but it was going out to multiple universes throughout the multiverse. I don't know if it went through every universe in the multiverse, but it does seem to be going through at least a few of them. And with Molecule Man just holding up a single finger, he was able to fix all the damage, just showcasing his tremendous power too. But as this is going on, he's trying to be Owen Reese is kind of trying to be like the Beyonder's therapist, and he's trying to explain to him that his purpose in the multiverse and stuff. And Beyonder's just not having any of it. He's sick and tired of it. He said, I'm beginning to think I'd be happier if I simply destroyed this multiverse, then I'd be alone. So yeah, basically he starts tweaking out and says, I'm going to wipe out the entire multiverse. Once again, showcasing that he's a multiversal level threat. We did see quite a bit of statements where they stated universe, and that is a little confusing, I'll admit. Sometimes they state universe, but then they go jump all the way up to multiverse, which is way more than just a universe. That's a whole collection of universes, and depending on Marvel, it might be infinite amount of universes. But as they go on and talk, and Owen Reese is talking to him, he says, he told him that you never try to understand, the universe, the multiverse. He says, here, we are simply outside Earth's universe and all the infinite adjacent dimensions which make up the multiverse, in other words, beyond all known existence. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to give you a little more perspective. Let's go to your dimension. As he goes to the Beyonder's realm, he explains that this realm is beyond not only the Earth, not only the universe, not only the infinite adjacent dimensions, but but the multiverse itself. So it's talking about all the other dimensions within the universes and the multiverse itself, all of existence. So his dimension and his domain, his beyond realm, is above all of the multiverse. Now this makes more sense why he's so powerful, because every time he explains throughout the story, he comes to everybody, he explains to them that he was once everything in his universe. He was beyond, and he was satisfied until the pinhole happened, and then he saw the multiverse, which he never knew before that. So he's technically he's the beyond dimension himself. It's not just a dimension that he resides in or lives in. Like Mixie Spitter, like he lives in the fifth dimension. And he's powerful being. He's one of the most powerful beings there, but he resides there. Whereas the Beyonder not just only resides in the dimension, but he is that dimension and basically the physical form of that. That's why he's a pure energy being. He's all that encompasses that. So he's the infinite dimension above all of existence itself. As they go on, they start explaining more of the story on what happened and what this cataclysmic event that created the pinhole to his dimension. We find out apparently it was the Molecule Man's experiment that did this, and he goes on to say, my becoming the Molecule Man caused all this. And then Beyonder says, what's that supposed to mean? That you're somehow responsible for my being, that you created me? And he says, no, I don't know. So both of them, they start to understand and realize more of the perspective of what is happening, what happened here. And apparently the event did create the pinhole that led him to there. So before he was the entire universe, he had no consciousness of anything else outside of it. He was content with that. But then when the pinhole happened, he saw another realm that he never knew existed. So he had the conscious of other things and other universes and desire. So it changed his perception. So he actually became a thing. So he's wondering, did you create me to become the way I am and the desires? He says, I don't know. I don't think so. I just think the event made him aware of the outside world. more so than he was created because of him. I think the dimension was always there. It's just that experiment allowed that to happen. So we go on as, Beyonder explains a little bit more of the scenario that he had with Puma and Spider-Man, as he goes on to say that, but Spider-Man intervened and distracted Puma, shaking his confidence for a second. It was that all it took, seeing that Puma really had any chance at all. See if the Puma had really chance at all. It was just that at one moment when all the axes of existence were properly aligned and the entire power of the multiverse was being channeled through him, when he finally struck it, it was too late. The moment of destiny had passed. He couldn't hurt me. So, like I said, it was destiny that he would led him to do the attack. So it was the destiny and the power that he was gaining from the universe. But he goes on to explain more that it was not just the universe, but the multiverse, which, like I said, they do this quite a bit, which it gets a little annoying and confusing when you mention universe, like he stated over there, but now he states the multiverse. So it wasn't just the power of the universe giving him the power and destiny, but the multiverse and the destiny itself that would have given him the victory. Outside of that, he would have no chance of beating him, which he messed up his opportunity. That's why he couldn't beat him. But after this, he ends up getting pissed off at Owen Reese. He's like, you know what, screw you, screw your life, screw humanity, I'm just gonna do whatever I want. He said, he says like basically, I'm gonna destroy everything. He's like, just like I was back in my own realm before this event shut up. And then he's like, you said you weren't really you weren't anything really. You knew how you knew. Please listen to me. I think the problem is that you haven't really tried being part of the multiverse. So he basically tells him, hey, look, I get you're frustrated, but you never really tried. There's no need to get crazy. So he's trying to calm him down every way he can, but it just doesn't work. As he says, but you are, he says, you're probably too much of a wimp to try, but you are afraid of me. I'll snuff you out in your little fool's parade. That's it. It is to you. You don't have fulfillment more than that. So basically, he's telling him, hey, look, I'm going to destroy all of existence. He said, well, it's over. I'm going to destroy all of existence now, starting with you. So Beyonder basically tells him, hey, look, you could try to stop me, but you're too weak and you're too much of a pansy to do anything, and I'm going to destroy all of existence, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. So he's just showcasing the difference of levels in their power, even though he's very powerful himself. So as this happens, the heroes are trying to attack him now, since he's basically gives the Earth only one day to convince him from why he shouldn't wipe out the entire multiverse. As this is happening, the heroes attack him. Rachel Summers tries to attack him with all of her power of the Phoenix Force, but he ends up just catching her, choking her out. And he states that he allowed her before to do all the things that she was doing before, but now he's getting serious and he's sick and tired of fucking around, and he's like, look, I'm not playing with you losers. I'm trying to fuck you guys up. You guys are getting on my goddamn nerves, okay? I'm sick and tired of this shit. I'm done with everything. I'm just gonna go all out. So he goes all out, and he's able to snuff out the Phoenix Force pretty casually. He's able to take her hits and choke her out pretty easily. And as this happens, we go back to Owen Reese and his girlfriend, and they're kind of panicking on what to do. And he goes on to say, maybe you're right. I can't match the Beyonder's power, but maybe I can still protect us from it. I'll use every bit of energy I can muster. So he says that, yeah, Beyonder's power is beyond my power, no pun intended. So all I can do is protect us. So he ends up forming a barrier. He uses all of his power to do so. But sadly for him, with the power he tried to protect the city, it didn't work, as the Beyonder completely shatters it, casually laughing at it like it was nothing. So even all of, a Molecule Man's power together to create this barrier wasn't strong enough to hold off the Beyonder from, just casually shattering it. So he changes up his plan to try to absorb more energy and also try to minimize the size of it. He says, oh no, not as good. I'm afraid I gathered up a lot of free energy in the multiverse, but I know it's not enough. All the energy in the multiverse wouldn't be enough. There's no way I can make a dome strong enough. So he says, do you think that the Beyond really will destroy everything? I mean, he isn't like killing himself in a way. So yeah, he himself once again stated that he's terrified of him. He can't do anything. He's even crying now because of he's just scared of what he's gonna do. and he states that, hey, I'm trying to gather energy from the entire multiverse. So right now, Owen Reese is trying to gather all the energy from the multiverse to create an even stronger barrier with his own power. But then he's just like, man, it doesn't matter, because even if I get every bit of energy from the entire multiverse with my power to create a dome, it wouldn't be strong enough to keep him out. That's how insanely powerful, the Beyonder is. That even with, somebody like the Molecule Man's full power, absorbing all the power of the multiverse on top of it, would not be able to keep him out. As that happened, basically he's like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to attack him. If I can't save us all, can't create these barriers, I'm just going to attack him head on. If he's going to destroy us all anyway, I might as well just take him out. Which was kind of funny, because at this point, Beyonder was like, maybe, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't destroy all of existence. And he came to talk to him, but Owen already made up his mind, and he didn't know that, that the Beyonder was actually going to go back on his word. But as he did this, he actually attacked him. And this is where we get a pretty iconic and pretty impressive, feat here. This is one of the most impressive feats that we see. As Molecule Man attacks Beyonder, Beyonder tanks it and says, not bad, nice try. The last shot could have staggered several billion entire dimensions. I should thank you for showing me your true colors. So, yeah, like I said, Beyonder came there. He was trying to, he was like, you know what? I'm not gonna destroy everything. He changed his mind, but Molecule Man didn't know this. He just thought that he was going to come back to say his final saying, like, I'm going to destroy everything. So he attacked him first. He caught him off guard and hit him. But even with caught off guard and hitting him with his most powerful attack, it did nothing to him. And this attack is not even just a weak attack either. It's an insanely powerful attack. He said it could have staggered or pretty much destroyed several billion entire dimensions. That's insane. Just think about it. And I'm guessing the dimensions are going to be considered like universes. So he can wipe out several billion universes. And it's not just 1 billion, but multiple billion. Maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 billion, right? But still, multiple billion universes. That's how powerful he is. So this just showcases their levels of power and the difference of power. One, this is impressive for Molecule Man, because that means Molecule Man's max power to attack, energy attack, is equivalent to several billion, the amount of damage it would take to destroy several billion entire dimensions. So for a character to be more powerful than him, they would have to tank an attack and max more than several billion entire dimensions and still keep on fighting. So it's basically, like I said, this is dimensions is just a replacement for universe. So think of it like he can destroy our universe several billion times over, or he's several billion times universal. That's how insane he is. It makes sense why people are saying he's multiversal level of power, because that would put him in high beyond multiversal, because multiversal is like destroying a 1,000 universes. This is well beyond that, but it was still nothing to Beyonder showcasing his insane power. As this is happening, Owen Reese is just like, I can't do anything. He collapsed to the ground, and Beyonder's just mocking him, saying, you're weak. He says, I have to tell you that this is the turn of events that have cheered me up considerably. OE, enough of that. I think one time I want to look around before I race the multiverse. So once again, he confirms that he has the power to destroy an entire multiverse. And as he does this, he starts tweaking out, and he starts enacting his final plan to wipe out the multiverse. As he says, I curse the moment from first I foot in this multiverse. Erasing it from existence may not be enough. Just mere memory of it may prevent me from ever feeling complete again. So he's going all out, and he's saying that I'm just gonna wipe out the entire multiverse now. So he's ready himself to wipe out all of existence. Once again, a multiversal level feat, and he's just sick and tired of it. This is him, an enraged one. An enraged Beyonder could literally wipe out an entire multiverse. But then we go on to one of the other. We transition to another subsequent comic book that strides away from it, or steers away from it. I mean, yeah, it steers away from it, because at that event there was supposed to be enacting destroying the multiverse, but we go into a completely different story altogether. So as we go on to the next story, like I said, it's going to be a little bit jarring because like they're already going into the event of like him threatening the multiverse, but then they go to something else. So it's going to be a little confusing, but like I said, they have these little interparts where they do the Secret Wars, and then they go to some other story where the timeline is a little bit out of sync. It's amalgamated like the whole Puma thing. they explained it when it was explained through the Secret War shit. But there's a little bit of it being, disconnected. So it's a little bit weird chronologically, but there should still be, it should be fine since there should be still impressive feats in it. So at one point he's fighting against this whole group of like superheroes. And as he's fighting them, he says, "I am time and space personified, finite yet infinite. Whole galaxies have I crushed, and stars created. Your flames are less than nothing." So this being tried to attack him with his flames, thinking it would hurt him, but it didn't really do anything. He goes on to explain that, look, I am time and space personified, so I'm literally beyond time and space itself. I'm finite and infinite. I'm guessing infinite being like the infinite distance, but there's like also a finite amount, I guess, or whatever. He said he crushed whole galaxies, which is true. His first appearance, his first feat was destroying a galaxy. He said he created stars, and that his energy attack is nothing compared to him. So after this, we go finally back into the Secret Wars story event, as he's showcasing his like final moments, and it stated, "In a galaxy so distant that even its light will not reach the Milky Way until long after the planet Earth has been reduced, the cosmic ash of one beyond stands and ponders the fate of this many-layered universe. As such, he's wiped it clean, erasing it, leaving it barren and lifeless as they are which dwelt, from continuing his seemingly futile quest to find peace within the realm of existence." So, suns explode, worlds collide, parallel dimensions collapse upon themselves. So, he's basically, like they said, he's pondering the fate of the many-layered universe. They say universe, like I said, is interchangeable. When they say universe or multiverse, they mean multiverse, not universe. That's why they say many-layered. So he's talking about all these dimensions and all these universes, stating that him enacting his plan now is suns are blowing up, worlds are colliding, parallel dimensions are literally collapsing because of his power. And as this is happening, Mephisto is like, damn, this is actually really scary, and I really feel like I'm in danger. I need to do something. And he goes on to like explain. He's saying those beings didn't die; they merely ceased to live. It's not though they never existed. Countless billions of lives who suffered, I would never be denied. Not even there be their cataclysm. There should be determined to dismantle the entire multiverse. How should I await the final cataclysm? So he himself is stating that, hey, look, he when he wiped out those lives, he did not, when those events were happening, like he was colliding the parallel worlds and all that stuff and wiping out lives, he wasn't really, what's the thing called? He wasn't killing them. He was actually wiping them out of existence, and that he's soon going to wipe out the whole entire multiverse as a whole. So he goes on to explain, like, how the multiverse as a whole would be basically screwed. And he's not liking this. So he's trying to plot once again to take down the Beyonder, but as he's doing it, this time the Beyonder breaches his dimension to basically, step in and stop him. He says, Mephisto, I've come to you and your entire realm. I'm going to erase this mess and then continue on to the rest of the multiverse. Don't bother trying to resist me. It won't do you any good. So he himself states that, he's gonna wipe out the multiverse, all these other dimensions, but first he wants to take him out because he knows this guy keeps on plotting shit, and he's like, yo, I'm not gonna let you go on doing whatever the fuck you want. I'm gonna get rid of your dumbass first and your lame ass dimension, and then I'm gonna wipe out everything else. And then he threatens to wipe out everything itself as a whole. Once again, we go to another story that's disconnected when it comes to the chronology. And like I said, it gets confusing when they do this and that. But as this is happening, Doom is he summons the Beyonder. And Mr. Fantastic is like, what the hell is happening? Why did you summon the Beyonder? And we find out something pretty interesting, that apparently something is happening with Doom, that he and with Beyonder. Apparently Beyonder does not recognize who Doom is. He does know of Doom, but he doesn't recognize this guy that is Doom. And Doom doesn't even remember him at all, even though they had that whole big ass event in the first Secret Wars. They don't really know who each other, which is getting really confusing. And Reed Richards starts to explain to them. He says right here, Clothing's nothing I've learned. I look in the past, the physical body. I look upon the colors of the aura, and I know them too. That's not possible unless you are somehow not the same Beyonder we met before. So he's saying that there's a lot of confusion, that he doesn't remember this. What's his name? This Doom, and he's like, why don't you remember this Doom? He's like, well, I'm not looking at the physical body. I'm looking at the auras, and the auras of his colors are like, I guess, the same or changed. So he's like, wait, are you not the same one? And that isn't true. He is the same one, as he explains. Goes on to the backstory of explaining, what happened, and he explains that the tech that the Doom had drained Galactus' power, and then drained the Beyonder's power, and then he just used it to trick him. And he's saying how the Beyonder is dead. So it's just going and giving a whole backstory of that. But as this is happening, he explains what happened. That there was a whole event before this where Doom's actual body got destroyed, and he transferred his mind into another person's body, and he took over that person's body. So when they had the whole event in Secret Wars, that wasn't actually Doom's real body. That was the body of the guy he took over to do this. And as he's talking to Reed Richards, he goes on to say, where did he come from, Beyonder? Where was the artificial Doom created by from our memories from the original? Or have I suspected it left another point in time stream, a point ahead of the one from which you took the rest of us? That is correct. I read all your minds and imagine of Dr. Doom, but I could not find him in your temporal plane. As I reached across the continuum to a suitable future point and brought that Doom from there. So what he's saying is that the Beyonder, when he was bringing them all, he was bringing them from different time streams. He was pulling them apart from different timelines and different time streams itself in general. And that for Doom, it was a little bit more complex because he couldn't really pick where he was. Even with his power, he pulled them from their memories. So he tried to find it, but he was looking from the astral plane. He couldn't find Doom, and he couldn't pull him out. So he said, screw it, I'm just going to go to the near future and pull out a future one. Usually he would pull out somebody from the past or somebody from the present, but he pulled somebody from the future. So he pulled out Doom specifically from the future, which that wasn't that Doom. So this creates a little bit of a time paradox, because messing with the past, it can cause problems, but messing with the future, I guess it makes bigger problems by pulling somebody out of it. And this especially because the Doom from the past would have been just the one in his physical natural body, but this one was from he was from a future timeline, which is a little bit important, as Reed Richards drops some pretty interesting knowledge as he goes on to say, do not speak to me in absolutes, Reed Richards. There is nothing I can do. The forces of my will is all powerful. Wrong, Beyonder. You have great powers, godlike powers. You may have been able to perform miracles, but there are yet remains one power in the universe greater than your great power to know. The power of history, Beyonder. When you plugged Doom out of his own future, you created a time loop. Events that already exist in the past for us have yet to happen for him. And if you alter that now, you will create a chain reaction, transactional temporal shockwaves that will rip across the space-time continuum, shattering all before it. Could you even survive the destruction of time itself, Beyonder? I do not know. Now, this is interesting because we keep on hearing Beyonder saying that he's beyond time and space. He is time and space, or he is beyond time and space and shit. But now we find out that apparently he is not beyond history, and that Reed Richards is stating that when he did that, he messed with actual time. Before, when he was doing it, there were like minor things that you could fix by just sending them back. But for him, when you send him back, you have events that never happened for them, but it did happen for him, and then he didn't have it, so it messed with time and creates this time loop, and he's messing with history, and he does not have the power of beyond history. He cannot do that. Once when he messes with the history, it will send a shockwave, and as it sends a shockwave, it will destroy the space-time continuum, and destroy history itself. And he's saying, could you survive that? So he's saying you can survive, universe and space and time stuff, but you also cannot survive history, which I don't know what's the significant difference between history and time itself, but apparently there is a significant difference, to the point where him altering it creates this major shockwaves and events, and as these shockwaves go on, it will destroy everything, and most likely will even end up destroying him. And even he's not certain if he can survive it. So he's just confused on what's happening. But then they go on and say, "In my universe, I am the one and the many, the nothing and that all. I've always been and shall always will be. Yet perhaps what you're saying is true, Reed Richards. Without time, there cannot be always even measured against infinity. One moment must always precede the next. This may be the that even I am time's captive. Thus, I must surrender to the power of history, which you speak of." But so once again, it's really interesting. It's a little confusing what that means, but I'll try to explain it as best as I can understand. But what he's saying is that even with his power being infinite, you can measure infinite through a timeline. So you see through that timeline. So there's always going to be time there that's connected, and you cannot have the infinity without time. So if you mess with time itself, you cannot have the infinity, which will disrupt that infinity and destroy it. Saying that for infinity to exist, time needs to exist, and there needs to be always a perceived time in that infinity, and that with him ruining it and destroying time itself, he's basically destroying history, which he himself has to bind to the rules of it. If he does not, it will end up destroying him, and he just realizes the severity of it. But in the end, as this happens, they all leave. He fixes the problem, and he says, "We Reed Richards like, come on, we need to get out of here because they're going to be in a time loop, and as the time continuum is going to try to fix itself." And as he does this, we see Doom showing up. Now, this does actually lead on to an interesting event after this with Doom. So this is actually quite important for the Doom situation itself. But after this, we go back into the Secret Wars event where he's going to destroy everything, and all these heroes are trying to find a way to beat him. And the Phoenix, she goes off, she flies. It says in a blink of an eye, Phoenix is outside of the solar system. And in a heartbeat, the Milky Way galaxy is left far behind. So once again, this is important to showcase how powerful these other beings are, because he scales above them and he's able to beat them. So the fact that he's able to beat these characters just showcases how ridiculously powerful he is. Because within the blink of an eye, she's able to leave the solar system, which is, I'm pretty sure, at least like billions to maybe trillions of miles across, right? So the solar system is huge. She's able to leave that within the blink of an eye, which is like, I guess, a microsecond. And then she's able to leave the entire galaxy behind, far behind, within a heartbeat, which should be like around a second or around there, or more than a second. So she, within a few microseconds, is able to leave the solar system, and within a few seconds, is able to fly out of the Milky Way galaxy itself. But she's still not able to speed blitz somebody like the Beyonder. As she shows up, she's talking to the rest of the team. She goes in and says, "Within this energy sphere, there's a neutron galaxy, the ultimate black hole. Once it's unleashed, and it will draw our entire universe, drawing its gravity while warping space and time as it cascades all the matter and energy into another dimension, creating its cosmos anew. We will perish, but so hopefully will the Beyonder." So she's going for broke. She's like, "Look, my Phoenix Force is not working. None of us can even beat this guy. So I found a galaxy that has a major black hole. If I set it off, I can have it where it draws the entire universe into it, and the gravity and space will warp around it, destroying it and transferring it to another dimension, as black holes would pretty much do. And this will destroy everybody in the universe, but hopefully maybe even the Beyonder." Now, this isn't confirmed that this would have destroyed the Beyonder, but it is pretty interesting that they believe that a threat or a thing that could destroy a universe would be powerful enough to destroy, the Beyonder himself. But they don't go on with it because this is too much. So as we go on, we see, I think, Phoenix Force attacks him again. It says, "He sought his power, but it's far, far more. All the Phoenix experienced the totality of life in all its forms and all its infinite glory. Now, he is. I knew, I never imagined, never conceived." So she tried to absorb his energy. It didn't work. He tried to absorb her energy, and he used his power to basically show her all the perceptions of everything in time and reality, and this overwhelmed her and him, and basically he passed out because of this. Once again, showing a little bit of his limitation. But then we see later on, as he uses in outer space, it says, its substance, its space, its denizens of overloads of conceptual beings. Even death itself will be erased. Everything must go, even his own memory of it all. So he's not only wiping out the multiverse, but he's wiping out all the other conceptual beings, especially death. And we already know once you wipe out death, that the other beings can't kill. So he can even kill the concept of death and all of reality and these other beings. As he's going on, he later on says, but even the mightiest beings among them are like microbes to me. I've unique situations. I'm omnipotent. I have trouble with being omnipotent. Reality isn't real to me. Everything is that I say it is. If I decide granite is squeezable, soft it is. If I decide the cows have wings, they do. To put it another way, cows do not have wings because I don't want them to. My imagination and reality are virtually interchangeable. All existence except mine might be a fragment of my imagination. May it be as my dreamed up and concluded wings, cows, but then the whole point is that I make no difference. So what he's basically saying is that you're all like microbes to me. You're not powerful. I'm all powerful. I'm omnipotent. I pretty much can warp reality to however I want. Basically, I can make granite as soft as I want. I can make cows have wings. The only reason they don't is because I choose not to. I don't like the idea of that. So everything that's been created in the universe is through my own imagination. So basically, he's seeing himself as God himself, as he's an all-powerful being. We know that's not true because there's the one above all, but that's how he sees himself in this. He says that he's above all existence, and it's all basically the same thing. His imagination and existence are the same because he controls all of it. Anyway, so it doesn't matter. Then he goes on to say, I was free of desire back when I was seemed to be all that was, therefore erasing all of existence seems logical. But as long as I conceive other things that exist in the fashion because my thoughts equal reality, remember, can I erase my own mind? If I do, what if I'm dead? I would remember anything before the momentum of the multiverse revealed to me as alive. So what he's basically saying is that since his mind can do whatever, he can wipe out everything. But if he leaves the idea of the multiverse and what he remembered, he can by an accident bring back the multiverse back. So he can wipe everything out, but by an accident he can bring everything back just as easy. So to get rid of this, he needs to erase it from his memory. But then he's like, well, I'll go back to the state I was before, which didn't feel like anything, which is kind of close to death itself. Now, he doesn't know how to feel about this, so he's like, you know what? Let me try something else. Let me try something a little bit more different before I make my final moves. So what he does is he creates this machine to turn him into a human. Because before he took a human form, but he still was a godly being. He was an omnipotent being. Now he's like, you know what? I'm going to do something different. I'm going to create a purely physical human being, a body of a human being. So now he wanted to get rid of his power. So he created this machine to absorb literally every bit of power that he had within him and trap it into the machine so he can be 100% human. He does it, though he doesn't like it. He finds out that being a human sucks. Literally, he only turns into a human for a second, which is kind of insulting, but he turns into a human for a second. He's like, fuck this shit. This is ass. What the fuck? Why would I want to be a human? So he goes back to the machine. He's like, fuck this shit. I'm going back and I want to get my power back. And this is where we get the most impressive and most insane feat out of all, as he goes back in to get back all of his power, and he states, and all the awesome power contained within millions of times more than that, all of the rest of the power in the multiverse combined reunites with his essence. A feral newborn mortal housing its burden away into an instant. So, like I said, he's like, fuck being immortal. I'm just going to go back to that. I don't want to do this way. Maybe I could do some other way. So as he jumps into the machine, the crazy thing that happens because of this, when he jumps into it, he gets all of his power back, and he mentions that the power coming back into him, he could feel it. And it's the feeling of millions of times more powerful than the rest of the power in the multiverse combined. So imagine the entire multiverse, and then imagine that all the power and energy within the multiverse, combine that and then times that by 1,000,000. That's how much power he has. So now we kind of have a more clear-cut level of where his power lies. So the Molecule Man, with his max power, he could hit with an attack that can destroy several billions of dimensions. And with his power, he has the power of the entire multiverse combined times 1,000,000. So he's not just multiversal; he's multiversal times a million. And like I said, with Marvel's multiverse, it could most likely be an infinite amount. So it could be billions of times infinite. But let's just say, for argument of sake, that is several billions of dimensions. That will still be insane. Times millions times several billions, that's like quadrillions, quintillions of dimensions he can wipe out. Or even more than that. He can probably wipe out sextillions, septillions of universes. That's how many times he can destroy the universe. But that's going by the low ball of the higher ball, the infinity. He can wipe out millions of infinite universes, which is insane. But after this, Molecule Man's like, you know what, screw it. He's clearly lost it. He's at the end point. Let's take care of him and end him. Now, at this point, Beyonder does do something different where he does get his power back, but he does try to go back to reborn himself into a physical state. As he does, he's physically more weaker, so he has like a mortal body. It's kind of like with Doctor Doom. When Doom took his power, he still had a mortal body, but he had the power of a god. Now he did the same thing. So he lives the physical body of a mortal being, but he has also the omnipotent power of a god. So he still has that power, but he also does have a limitation to him having a physical body. So this does lower his power a little bit, but it doesn't matter because he gets into a fight with the Molecule Man. As they both get into a fight, they both clash, and we see this iconic pose where they're attacking each other. And as they do, it says, the two mightiest beings in all of existence clash. Every creature on every planet in every dimension feels the multiversal trembles, born of their fury. So their attack was so powerful, and they're considered the most powerful beings in all the multiverse and all of existence, that when they attacked each other, that this power was affecting the infinite multiverse as a whole, sending tremors and affecting all these other dimensions, all these other planets, and all these other realities and stuff. So once again, showcasing that his power, both of the powers are, multiversal and beyond that. And he is in a little bit of weaker state because we see later on, as he says, "Hurry, please. I can't conceal some of his power, weakening him enough so that your combined strength might affect him, but I can't hold on long." So with his power, he's able to dampen him and damage him. But remember, like I said, the reason why he's able to do that is due to the fact that the Beyonder took a physical form still. He has a physical form with omnipotent power. So there's the limitation with the physical form. And Owen Reese was able to harm that and drain it. And this was supposed to be enough for the heroes to attack him. But as they do, he ends up, shooting off a big energy blast because they're literally trying to take him down. So he's like, I'm not going to let that happen. He blows it out, and it says, "For your all history, the Beyonder's death stroke renders the earth and space utterly destroying everything in its path and the way to the ends of infinity." So he flies it off. So what happened was they were attacking him. He fires an energy beam directly going forward, and it goes, and as it's flying off, it's destroying everything that goes in his path. Planets, stars, galaxies, and it goes out to the ends of infinity, meaning most likely it went throughout all the other multiverses or universes throughout the multiverse itself. But as this is happening, we find out that the reason why they didn't die, the heroes, was because of Molecule Man. He used his power to divert it and help protect them. And he said, as he's talking to Captain America, he says, by the way, I also removed every living thing from Death's blast path. They're all in stasis in subspace. I'll bring them back later if there is a later. How is that such thing possible? I transcend power levels of unimaginable powers to you, Captain America. The Beyonder seems on levels unimaginable to me. So he states that he used his power to move everything that was in his death blast away from harm, and he'll put everything back into place once when he's done. And Captain's like, how are you able to do that? He says, I'm as infinite or like unimaginably powerful to you as Beyonder is unimaginably powerful to me. So he admits 100% right there that even though he's very powerful, the Beyonder is way more powerful than him. And it wasn't just because he was just being fearful. It was a legitimate fear. But as this is happening, the Beyonder wanted to go inside there and get his... he wanted to turn into... like I said, he wanted to turn fully into a human with the omnipotent power of a god. So he jumps into his machine to turn into a baby. But as he does this, he gets blasted as his baby form, and it ends up getting destroyed, and he ends up getting killed. And when he gets killed, the energy that was in the machine releases. This was, remember, all of his own energy. So it releases, and we see the backgrounds of reality basically getting wiped and erased. But it doesn't get erased, and we wonder what happened. What happened? Why didn't everything get destroyed? Apparently, once again, this was Molecule Man's doing. He said he admits that he ended up he was the one who attacked the baby Beyonder. He attacked him to kill him because he saw he was a threat, and he knew that there was no other way. Even though this was a cowardice way, he thought this was the best way. So that's why Beyonder ended up dying, was due to the fact that Beyonder turned himself into a baby. So he basically reset his power, and at the moment he reset it, he attacked him. And the reason why everything's not dead is because it's said somewhere and beyond time, space, the myriad dimensions of the multiverse. Whereas since the Beyonder's departure, there has been utterly nothing. A few moments ago, by our reckoning, something happened. So what happened? Well, not only did he attack him as a child, killing him, which would have released all this energy and this power that would have destroyed all of existence, what Molecule Man did to protect them was he opened up the hole, breaching into the Beyonder's dimension since it's infinite, sending all of Beyonder's power into there since he already came from there anyway, into there, exploding, and he ends up dying, but as he dies, he recreates a new universe. And it goes on to say, a portal was abruptly opened, a portal from a universe into the beyond. He who had opened the portal, the Molecule Man, thrust a certain falling power conduct into the breach, saving all of existence inside of the portal from the dangers and energy, the unimaginable energy into the endless of the beyond, an explosive torrent, unlike the cataclysmic explosion said to have begun our universe, beating no resistance in the infinite beyond. The energy begins to cool, even eventually collapsing into time masses from this void, stars, suns, planets, and some planets life arise. So like I said, he breached a hole. Once he killed him, he knew the energy was going to destroy everything, so he breached a hole to his dimension, sent all that energy there, so when it blows up, it creates, like the power there. It ended up destroying, and it breached there, and it recreated, it basically created another Big Bang. So it created a Big Bang in his universe, because before his universe didn't have anything. And as it did, it created planets, stars, and all these stuff, and even more, as they go on to say, evolves and it flourishes. Thus, with the new universe begot the Beyonder's power. Mortal beings live their finite lives, meeting to the infinity that dwelled. Thus, finally, the desires of the one beyond fulfilled. So, the rest of the universe was created because of that. So that was the end of the second Secret Wars story event. And I know that was a lot of information. The first one had a few decent stuff. The second one had a fuck ton. Trust me, it was a lot. Because even though it was 9 issues only, it hopped around from a lot of other comic book, stuff back and forth. So it was quite a bit doing that. And I thought at first I could finish this all in one part. I didn't think I had to do a multiple part series like how I did with Galactus. But seeing it does seem to be quite a lot because there's so many feats and so many impressive shit that this guy does that I just couldn't go through it all in one video. Or I would have had to be like 3 or 4 hours long, which I think is a little too ridiculous in my opinion. So I'm going to end it here and I'm going to continue with part 2 later at some point. I'm going to try to finish editing this video and get it out to you guys as fast and in a timely fashion as much as possible for you guys to enjoy. But yeah, that was covering all of Secret Wars 1 and 2 event and all the other subsequent in-between story events between the Secret Wars 2. But we see some pretty impressive feats. Beyonder our Molecule Man being able to destroy several billions of dimensions. Beyonder's power was equivalent to the multiverse, all that energy, the multiverse combined times 1,000,000, and then him and Owen Reese fighting and their attack basically sending ripples throughout the entire multiverse, and then him destroying him, the energy being released, and then blowing up and creating that universe. So that's how they beat him in the baby form, which was kind of a cheap way, but they didn't have really any other option because at that point he was just like way too OP to beat. So yeah, that's pretty much how they beat him in that, and we will continue on with his journey and how he comes back into the fold and to in part 2. So I hope you guys enjoyed and stay tuned for next time.